Okay, now how about I got it adjusted square? It's pretty darn close when I finished it. Yep. Yep, that's like maybe a 32nd of a notch, less than a 32nd of an inch off. Time for the back. Welcome back, episode 5, Cree's Magic Door. As you saw in the intro, I was making sure that I had this box all squared up. This is the bookcase, so it needs the back installed. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my staple gun, pneumatic staple gun, to staple the back in place with some glue, but mostly with the staples. The trick is to get it down without disturbing the squareness of the box, because it might move a little bit, and then get some staples in place to freeze it so it won't move anymore, and then just go around and shoot staples all the way around it. The wood is cut out, it's on the table saw, the backing. So without further ado, maybe I should stop saying that. Don't want it to be a catchphrase. So let's get on putting the back on this thing, and it'll be nice and solid at that point. See, now I got these two fastened together, so this can't rack anymore. So that's good. Okay, now what I need to do, I'm going to let this dry, let the glue cure a little bit, and then I'll take a trim router and run it around that side and that side so I can trim it all the way out. Then I've got the lines marked on either side for the intershelf, the middle shelf that's fastened in place, and that way I'll be able to mark that and run a set of staples along that line. So let's get ready to run a trim router. So I didn't turn the camera on when I was doing the trim routing. Of course, it's not terribly exciting. I used my Ryobi battery-powered trim router and a flush trim bit. Ran anywhere I needed it around the box. It needs a little sanding to clean up some of the edges. And then I took the lines that I had marked on either side for the center of the center shelf, drew that across here, and then ran a staple gun along there. So this box, for all intents and purposes, the box is done. Now, a couple of little things I want to show you. So, well, one little thing. When I was doing the squaring of the box measurements, is it square? Is it not square? I used a tool, another one of those little gadgets I picked up at a woodworking show. This is kind of cool. What it is, it sticks to the end of your tape measure with rare earth magnets. Has a notch in it for your slot. A slot, I mean, for the tongue on the tape. So you see there's a notch here, and I can go outside to outside like this and just read the numbers and see how close I am. It also has the point, which is obvious. It's for doing inside of boxes. And it also turns around for doing other kinds of measurements, which I'm not sure what. So that's kind of cool. I think the usual suspects carry this as well: Woodcraft, Rockler, Lee Valley, all that kind of stuff. And that has come in real handy. So the box, like I said, is essentially done. I got to put some plugs into the holes for the pocket holes, because I mean, when they open this thing, people are going to see those, and I want to hide those, and she's going to paint it. Next thing to do is to make the shelves. So we're going to make shelves next. The shelves are going to be made out of 1/2-inch plywood, and they're going to have a bit of molding that Cree picked out along the top, kind of keep the spices and whatever's on the shelves in the shelves when they open and close. The door, she understands that things on the door might move a little bit, and she will open it gently, but that doesn't mean everybody who comes in the house is going to do that. So we want to protect stuff from falling off the shelf. So it'll be 1/2-inch, bang, bang, I'm sorry, making noise. It'll be 1/2-inch, and I will put a solid wood edging on the front of these. They'll be cut to the length to fit in the flush inside there, and then the molding, where's the molding? I have the molding here. This is the molding profile that she's chosen. And it'll be like that. This will be the back, this will be facing the front, and it'll be glued and pinned down here. Because this is a painted piece, painted molding makes perfect sense. What I got to do, I got to rip these out, cross cut them to length, glue on the ends, and mount the molding, and they'll be done. But there's one other feature I'm going to do. So in the box we have the shelf pins. To keep the shelves in there from sliding around when they open and close this thing, I'm going to put a cleat on the bottom of the shelf right behind the forward shelf pin. So that way the shelf will remain in place and won't move. And you can just lift it up, move it out, and put it wherever you want when you're done with that. So let's cut out some more plywood. No need for seeing this. How many times have you watched me cut plywood? So this is another one of those jigs I've had for a long, long time. This is called the Dubby from Inline Industries. I still think it's available. Again, bought it at a woodworking show. The nice thing about it's nice and square. You square it up to your saw. It's got a guide. Goes through the guide thing, whatever you call it. It's got I think I can show you here. It's got a tube that comes out like this, so you can set it up for various distances, and on the end is a Delron. Let me take this out and show it to you. There's a Delron block with adjustable screws, so you can fine-tune whatever cut you're going to do. Again, not sponsored, just showing a tool that works for me that I like. The nice thing about it, it has, although it's square, it has an arc for the locking screw to get through. The measurements are on a linear scale on the side here, so he did all the math. You loosen it up and you turn it. There we go. So it was just a little, needed to be moved. You see, you want 40 degrees, you put it on, you split that 40-degree line here and you get 40 degrees. I've tested this and this is freaking accurate. And you want 45 degrees, you go right to the 45 and split it, the mark with the fence, and that's dead on 45 degrees. I use it for larger projects like this. I basically set it up to cut all the shelves to exactly the same length. And they fitteth here. There's all 6 of them perfectly. So Dubby Inline Industries, take a look. It ain't cheap now. I don't think it was a lot cheaper when I bought it. It's got a very fine adjustment screw here for getting it aligned perpendicular to your fence or your blade, however you do it. And it's one of the many jigs I've owned for probably, I think I've owned this jig for almost 30 years. And it really, I mean, it's great. So, not a sponsor. I have no sponsors, as you all know. I'm paying for all this myself. Not really paying for anything. Anyway, I'll proceed now to edge band those shelves and put on the molding and trim them to exact shape, exact size. I mean, the molding I have to trim off to make it fit perfectly on the shelf. And when I get that done, we'll come back on and we'll show you what it looks like. Oh, one thing, in case someone was concerned about it, the molding's painted where it's going to be fastened to the shelf here. I'm going to cut these to length and then run this edge through the jointer to remove the paint so I get a good glue bond down to the plywood shelves. All the shelf parts are cut out and ready for assembly. So I've got each shelf is the 1/2 inch piece. Now, contacted Cree about a change I wanted to make, and that's to put a cleat on the front of each shelf to give it a little more visual weight. So here's 1/2 inch, like that. Now when I put the cleat on here, it gives it a little more visual weight when you're looking at it. Oops, that's the wrong way. Oh well. There we go. When you put the cleat on there, it gives it a little more visual weight when you're looking at it. Looks like it's a bigger shelf than it actually is. So there's that. And then I've got her molding trimmed and depainted on one side. And once this goes together like that, the molding will sit here. And the roundy belly part front of the molding will be flush with the front surface. So that's kind of a representation of what it's going to look like there. And that keeps the spices and on doors and stuff. So what I'll do is I'm going to assemble all of these. I'm going to shoot one assembly because it's fairly simple stuff. It's basically glue and pins. And then I'll assemble all the rest of them and they'll go in here. Now, I'm expanding out the shelf a little bit from the front surface of these case parts, these carcass parts. And actually that's a benefit because I found out that, let's see, I can see up in this corner, I found out it's about a little less than 1/8 of an inch out of plumb with the casing. So with this sticking out just a little bit, like that, it comes out a little bit further now. I can actually put a piece of strip of wood on there that'll kind of bring that surface out so it's plumb all the way across the top. Now, 1/8 of an inch wouldn't even be noticed by anyone but me, and of course Cree will know it. So that's the plan anyway, to do all that. So now it's a shelf assembly. Now, I'm going to end this video at this point, and we'll pick up the shelf assembly in the next video because this is getting a little bit long. So next, to get all the shelves together, get the face fronts on, covering up the plywood here, and I think we're about ready to collect the trim parts and go up and install this thing at Cree's house. So until the next video in this series, which will be episode 6, make great things out of wood.